Welcome to Literary Journeys with River. Today we explore a court of thorns and roses, a breathtaking story where love, sacrifice, and power collide beyond the human world. Remember, this is just a summary, not the full book. If you enjoy diving into epic tales like this, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you won't miss the next illustrated summaries. Also, let us know where you're watching from. Your comments help YouTube recommend our channel and help it grow. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Feyre watches from a snow-covered tree, desperately searching for food for her family. Hunger and desperation lead her far from home, near the border with Prythian, the land of the immortals. After hours of searching, she spots a doe but also notices a large, strange wolf stalking it. Although she suspects it might be an immortal, Feyre decides to shoot her ash arrow. The wolf falls after a second shot to the eye, confirming its death. She skins the wolf and carries the doe back home, knowing that this food will keep them alive for a few more days. Despite the danger, Feyre feels relieved, although a dark unease lingers within her as she recalls the possibility that she may have killed something more than just a simple wolf. Chapter 2. Feyre returns at dusk, exhausted and freezing, carrying the doe and the wolf's pelt. Her sisters, Ellen and Nesta, greet her with indifference, more concerned with their own desires than Feyre's sacrifice. Her father, broken and humiliated since losing his fortune, barely reacts. Feyre plans how to portion the meat to make it last for weeks and decides to sell the wolf's pelt at the market. During dinner, Nesta mentions her possible marriage to Tomas Mandray, a young man Feyre suspects is only interested in her for convenience. The tension between the sisters grows, but Feyre remains silent, remembering the promise she made to her mother before she died, to keep the family together. Despite the resentment and misunderstanding, Feyre continues to sacrifice herself, knowing her family depends entirely on her to survive. Chapter 3. Feyre takes the wolf's pelt and the doe to the market, accompanied by her sisters. On the way, they avoid the children of the blessed, fanatics who revere the immortals and seek to attract more followers. Feyre sells the pelts to a mercenary who pays generously but warns her that dangerous creatures have crossed the wall from Prythian. The mercenary tells stories of monsters like the Martax, deadly beasts that attack villages and devour humans. Feyre, worried, considers the growing danger. On their way back, her sisters argue over their futile desires, while Feyre gives them part of the money to quiet their complaints. That night, as the family dines, their peace is shattered when a ferocious roar shakes the cabin and a massive beast bursts in, bringing with it a threat that will change their lives forever. Chapter 4. A massive beast, a mix of wolf, lion, and stag, violently enters Feyre's cabin, demanding justice for the death of his friend, the wolf Feyre killed. The creature, an immortal, claims a life as payment according to the treaty between humans and immortals. In her family's desperation, Feyre confesses to killing the wolf. The beast offers her two options: die there or cross the wall and live in Prythian as payment for her crime. To protect her family, Feyre agrees to go. She bids farewell to her father, who, in an unexpected gesture of love, asks her never to return. With a broken heart and her promise to her mother shattered, Feyre follows the beast into the immortal realm, unaware of the fate that awaits her on the other side of the wall. Chapter 5. Feyre is taken by the beast northward, toward Prythian. Riding a white mare, they travel for days through the forest while Feyre fears what awaits her beyond the wall. She recalls the stories of the High Fae, powerful and terrifying rulers of Prythian, capable of destroying entire armies and villages. She feels guilt for leaving her family behind, imagining her father begging for alms and Nesta sacrificing herself to protect Ellen. Feyre plans to kill the beast if she gets the chance, but her hope fades when exhaustion and magic overpower her. The beast keeps her asleep until they reach Prythian, where they cross a metal gate that leads her to an unknown fate, her prison or perhaps her salvation. Chapter 6. Feyre arrives at the beast's luxurious mansion, surrounded by blooming gardens and a house so dazzling that it makes her memories of her family's former estate pale in comparison. Although the place seems peaceful, a feeling of emptiness unsettles Feyre, who cannot stop wondering what her fate will be. Upon entering, she is struck by the wealth and splendor of the place, but her fear intensifies when, in a flash of light, the beast transforms into a high fae, Tamlin. Handsome, lethal, and masked, Tamlin offers her food, but Feyre, remembering the warnings about immortal food, refuses. Soon, she discovers that she is not a prisoner, but neither is she free, and she is sent by Alice, a servant, to an exquisite room where she is prepared for her new life. Chapter 7. Feyre is brought to dinner with Tamlin and Lucien, his sarcastic emissary. Although Tamlin tries to show kindness, Lucien treats her with disdain over the death of his friend Andras. Feyre refuses to eat, recalling the warnings about becoming trapped if she consumes immortal food. Eventually, Tamlin assures her that the food is safe and forces her to eat to prevent her from fainting. During the conversation, Tamlin reveals that her family is being taken care of and that she is not his prisoner, although he warns her that if she tries to escape, her family will stop receiving help. Frustrated and powerless, Feyre decides to closely observe Tamlin and Lucien to find a way to escape. Despite the mansion's luxury and safety, her heart remains with her family, while Lucien hints that Feyre could be a threat if she stays too long in Prythian. Chapter 8. Feyre explores the gardens, memorizing routes and possible hiding places for a potential escape. Although she recognizes the danger of Prythian, she decides to find an ally who might convince Tamlin to let her go. She considers Lucien, despite his hostility, as a possible option to persuade Tamlin. During her walk, she senses the presence of something or someone watching her, but she cannot see what it is. That night, she steals a knife from dinner as a precaution. As she continues her plans, she evaluates her chances of fleeing if an opportunity arises. She knows the mansion is safe but fears what lurks beyond. She decides to approach Lucien to try to convince him to intercede for her, but she also prepares for any situation that might require a quick escape. Chapter 9. Feyre devises a plan to speak alone with Lucien and gain his favor. She takes advantage of Tamlin and Lucien's tasks to meet with the emissary in the stables. When Tamlin surprises her in the garden, she feigns disinterest and rejects him, staying focused on seeking out Lucien. In the stables, Lucien invites her to patrol the borders, seizing the opportunity to probe Feyre about her intentions. During the patrol, she tries to appear indifferent, but Lucien senses her true objective, to convince him to intercede for her with Tamlin. However, he makes it clear that he cannot free her from the treaty and that there is no way out. Feyre realizes that she must find another way to escape, but Lucien warns her that any escape attempt would put her in danger. Despite her efforts, the situation seems more hopeless than she imagined. Chapter 10. While patrolling the borders, Feyre and Lucien are stalked by a terrifying presence: the bog. Lucien orders her not to look or react, warning that acknowledging it would make it real and deadly. Despite feeling a chilling cold and hearing its sinister voice whispering for her to look, Feyre manages to resist. Once the creature moves away, Lucien explains that the bog is impossible to kill or hunt, a creature that should not be in these lands. This experience leaves Feyre terrified, aware of the invisible dangers that lurk in Prythian. After the encounter, Lucien tells her that he is a trained warrior, although not as lethal as Tamlin, who is capable of dealing with creatures like the bog. Feyre begins to understand that Tamlin possesses immense power, one she still does not fully comprehend. Chapter 11. In the dead of night, Feyre sees the figure of her father by the gates, beckoning her to flee. Without hesitation, she quickly dresses, gathers provisions, and slips away toward him. But just as she is about to reach freedom, Tamlin stops her. The creature pretending to be her father was actually a puka, a creature that uses its victims' deepest desires to lure and devour them. Tamlin, furious at her escape attempt, makes it clear that there is no way for her to return home. Feyre confronts the reality that her promise to take care of her family is now fulfilled, as they are safe and cared for thanks to Tamlin. The revelation leaves her disoriented, feeling an emptiness over the loss of her purpose. Tamlin warns her about the dangers lurking in Prythian and that her safety depends on staying with him. Chapter 12. Tamlin returns wounded after killing the bog. Feyre, unable to ignore his condition, helps him tend to his injured hand. Despite the immortal's power to heal, the wound does not heal as it should, indicating the severity of the bog's attack. While bandaging his hand, Feyre senses Tamlin's vulnerability, feeling pity for him for the first time. During the night, plagued by insomnia and her thoughts, Feyre roams the mansion to memorize escape routes, creating a mental map. Tamlin, exhausted and distant, thanks her for her help, although Feyre feels the weight of the realm pressing down on him. The tension between them begins to transform into something more complex, leaving Feyre confused by her feelings and her position within the Spring Court. Chapter 13. Feyre explores the mansion and discovers a detailed mural depicting the history of Prythian, the creation of the world by a cauldron and the division of the courts after the war against humans. Fascinated, she realizes the magnitude of the High Fae's power and the danger surrounding her. Later, in her attempt to write a letter to her family, Feyre faces her illiteracy, feeling humiliated. Tamlin offers to help her write it, but she refuses out of pride. Later, seeking a way out, she visits Lucian and manipulates him into revealing how to trap Asuriel, ancient beings who answer any question if captured. Lucian, warning her of the danger, gives her the necessary instructions but makes it clear that if anything goes wrong, he will not be able to protect her. With this new information, Feyre plans her next move. Chapter 14. Feyre follows Lucian's instructions to hunt the Suriel, venturing into the ancient western woods. After carefully setting a trap with a dead chicken, she hides in a nearby tree, waiting patiently. When the Suriel falls into her snare, Feyre confronts it and asks if there is a way to return home, only to learn that doing so would be fatal for her and her family. She also discovers that Tamlin is a High Lord, the supreme ruler of the Spring Court, and that a dark plague is corrupting Prythian's magic. The Suriel warns her to stay close to Tamlin to remain safe. However, before she can get more answers, Feyre is attacked by the Naga, horrendous creatures that corner her. She releases the Suriel to prevent it from being captured, but her own life is left hanging by a thread. Chapter 15. Feyre flees from the Naga for bloodthirsty demonic creatures, but they corner her after a brief attempt to escape. Although she manages to kill one and wound another, her strength wanes, and the Naga bring her down. Just when all seems lost, Tamlin arrives, roaring with fury and brutally destroys the remaining Naga, saving Feyre. Still trembling, Feyre watches in horror as Tamlin, in his most savage form, eliminates the immortal enemies with lethal precision. After ensuring she is safe, Tamlin helps her to her feet and offers her his tunic to cover her bloodied and torn body. As they walk back to the mansion, Feyre processes the devastating power of Tamlin and his role as the protector of the Spring Court, feeling overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment and the danger that had nearly cost her life. Chapter 16. Feyre recovers from the attack with Alice's help, who tends to her and warns her not to ask any more questions about the Blight or the Summer Court. Alice also tells her about her nephews, who live far away to stay safe. Meanwhile, at dinner, Lucian tries to offer an indirect apology for sending Feyre after the Suriel without warning her of the dangers. Feyre, though still upset, silently accepts his apology. Tamlin reveals that High Fae can lie, dismantling another myth Feyre had believed. The conversation shifts to the list of words Feyre has been compiling to learn how to read, and instead of mocking her, Tamlin offers to help. Feyre, moved by the unexpected kindness, timidly accepts. Though she continues to struggle with her shame, she begins to see something more in Tamlin than just a powerful and lethal immortal. Chapter 17. Feyre wakes in the middle of the night to the sound of screams and finds Tamlin bringing in a gravely wounded immortal from the Summer Court, whose wings have been ripped off. Despite the horror, Feyre holds the dying Fae's hand, trying to comfort him as his life fades. Tamlin recites an ancient prayer to guide the immortal into eternity, but Feyre, deeply moved by his suffering, falsely promises him that he will get his wings back. The immortal's death leaves a bitter weight on Feyre's heart, as she reflects on the cruelty of the unnamed she who mutilated him. Although Tamlin tries to console her, Feyre's helplessness and pain linger as she watches Tamlin carry the immortal's body to the fields for a dignified burial. Chapter 18. The next day, Tamlin takes Feyre to a magical place, a lagoon of starlight hidden within a forest of towering oaks. The beauty of the place leaves her speechless, and Tamlin shows her how the shimmering surface emits mesmerizing colors. As they spend time together, Feyre discovers a more relaxed and human side of Tamlin. They talk about their pasts, and Tamlin reveals Lucien's tragic story, his lost love and the betrayal of his family. Tamlin's vulnerability and the beauty of the moment move Feyre, who finally feels comfortable enough to swim in the lagoon. The bond between them deepens, and although Feyre struggles to maintain her distance, she feels herself being drawn to Tamlin's warmth and tenderness. Upon returning to the mansion, Lucien gifts Feyre a hunting knife as a gesture of apology, signaling that their relationship is beginning to change. Chapter 19. Tamlin surprises Feyre by taking her to a gallery filled with exquisite paintings that leave her breathless. Emotion overwhelms her as she sees the works that reflect visions of the world as she perceives it. Tamlin allows her to visit the gallery whenever she wishes, and after hours of contemplation, Feyre is given a space to paint with abundant supplies. For weeks, Feyre devotes herself to painting, though most of her works frustrate her because they fail to capture the essence of what she feels. Tamlin continues patrolling the borders, often returning covered in blood. Although the spring court seems safe, Feyre cannot help but remember her past life and the family she left behind. Melancholy overwhelms her, making her feel forgotten. Her sorrow leads her to question whether Tamlin has intentionally distracted her so she would forget her mortal world. That night, her anguish leads to an intimate and emotional encounter with Tamlin, where both reveal their hidden feelings. Chapter 20. After a tense dinner, Feyre paints a terrifying creature, the Adder, a being Tamlin and Lucien spoke of after a disturbing encounter. Tamlin and Lucien had confronted this invisible creature, which served as a messenger for a powerful she, who kept Prythian under threat. Tamlin insists that Feyre stay away from the Calamai ceremony, a sacred night when the High Lord must perform a ritual to regenerate magic. Feyre feels curiosity and anxiety, but she follows the order to stay in her room. However, the pull of the drums and the air thick with magic proves too strong. Despite the warnings, Feyre ventures toward the celebration. She steps into a world unknown and dangerous, where the presence of immortal beings and a primitive magic draws her toward something she cannot yet comprehend. Chapter 21. On Fire Night, Feyre is harassed by 3 cruel immortals who plan to take advantage of her vulnerability. Just as she is about to be dragged into darkness, a dazzlingly beautiful stranger saves her. This immortal, with black hair and violet eyes, exudes power and danger, and his presence is as unsettling as it is fascinating. He interrogates her seductively and warns her to be careful. Terrified and intrigued, Feyre manages to slip away, but their encounter leaves a deep impression. Lucien finds her and takes her back to the mansion, scolding her for her recklessness. He explains that the Great Rite is a ritual where Tamlin loses control to become the hunter, seeking the maiden to restore magic. Lucien warns her that if Tamlin had found her, he would not have been himself and orders her to stay locked in her room until the night is over. Chapter 22. After the rite, Feyre tries to ignore the growing tension between her and Tamlin, but their nighttime encounter after Calamai is explosive. Tamlin, still under the influence of the magic, corners her in a hallway and marks her with a possessive bite. Feyre, stunned by her desire and confused by her emotions, scolds him and walks away. The next day, she displays the mark to remind Tamlin of his wild behavior. During dinner, the tension between them eases when Tamlin gives her a bouquet of white roses as an apology. Feyre also shows him her paintings, including one of the frozen forest that represents her solitary past. Deeply moved, Tamlin chooses that piece, feeling that it reminds him that he is not alone. As their feelings intensify, Feyre begins to understand that her relationship with Tamlin has crossed an irreversible threshold. Chapter 23. Feyre and Tamlin enjoy a quiet afternoon in the woods, where he shows her the magic that permeates his world. Tamlin offers to open her senses in exchange for a kiss, and although she playfully agrees, the experience overwhelms her. As he kisses her eyelids, Feyre hears the willow's song, perceives the vibrant colors of the stream, and feels the magic in the air. When she looks at Tamlin, she sees him transformed into a golden and radiant figure, the true High Lord of Prythian. Although she tries to remove his mask, she discovers she cannot. Tamlin explains that his appearance is enchanted and that, despite his power, he is trapped under that spell. Feyre, enchanted by the magical vision of the world, feels more connected to him. As the afternoon fades, she falls asleep beside Tamlin, feeling a peace and security she had never known before. Chapter 24. Feyre wakes up confused to discover that Alice now shows her true form, revealing that her previous appearance was a glamour. As she walks through the mansion, she realizes she had always been surrounded by immortals, now visible without the veil of magic. Tamlin explains that the blight afflicting Prythian had made it necessary to hide many things to protect her. Although Feyre feels humiliated for having lived in an illusion, she understands that it was for her safety. However, the threat becomes more tangible when they find the decapitated head of an immortal from the Night Court impaled on a garden statue. Lucien recognizes the seal of the Night Court behind the deceased's ear, indicating that Rhysand, High Lord of that court, is sending a message. Tamlin promises to keep Feyre safe, though the growing threat of the blight and the hostility of other courts cast a shadow over his promise. Chapter 25. With the arrival of the summer solstice, the mansion is filled with color and music for the celebration. Despite the tension caused by the blight and the appearance of the decapitated head, Feyre immerses herself in the festivities. Tamlin returns safely after a journey to the borders, and as night falls, he takes her to a hill where she witnesses the magical dance of the spirits of air and light. After dancing together, Feyre and Tamlin share intimate moments, their feelings growing more intense. The music, immortal wine, and the magic of the solstice envelop Feyre, who surrenders to the joy of the moment. As dawn breaks, Feyre feels that, for the first time, her world is better than she ever dreamed. Her connection with Tamlin becomes unbreakable, and their hearts beat as one as the sun rises before them. Chapter 26. Feyre and Tamlin's peace is shattered when Rhysand, the feared High Lord of the Night Court, unexpectedly appears. Despite Tamlin and Lucien's attempts to hide Feyre's presence, Rhysand discovers her and plays with her mind, revealing her most intimate thoughts about Tamlin. Rhysand threatens to inform Amarantha, the cruel ruler who controls Prythian, about Feyre's existence. To prevent this, Tamlin humiliates himself, kneeling before Rhys and to beg for his silence. Although Feyre gives a false name to protect her family, Rhysand's presence leaves behind a trail of fear and despair. The darkness of the Night Court and Amarantha's power loom over them, and Feyre's safety, as well as the security of the Spring Court, hangs by a thread. Chapter 27. Feyre remains in her room, disturbed by Tamlin's fury and Rhysand's words about Amarantha. Tamlin enters and, though his heart is filled with pain, informs her that he must send her back home to protect her from the growing threats. Feyre tries to resist, but Tamlin insists, fearing for her safety. They ultimately give in to desire and passion before their painful farewell. Tamlin confesses his love, but Feyre feels her heart shatter knowing she must leave. Despite the fear and sadness, she surrenders herself to his embrace, knowing that their goodbye is inevitable. Chapter 28. Feyre is sent back to her home, dressed in elegant clothes that do not reflect her true self. Upon arrival, she is greeted by her sisters, Nesta and Ellen, who are surprised by her return and the wealth she now possesses. Although her father is excited about the inherited fortune, Feyre feels that she no longer belongs there. Lucien tries to convince Tamlin to give her more time, but he refuses, determined to protect her. Feyre senses that something is wrong as she leaves, but she cannot disobey Tamlin. The shadow of a growing threat follows her, making her question whether leaving was the right choice. Chapter 29. Feyre adjusts to her new life of luxury, but her heart remains anchored in Prythian. While inventing stories about her stay with her Aunt Ripley, She notices that her father has regained his vitality thanks to the fortune provided by Tamlin. However, Nesta remains distant, harboring a secret that Feyre has yet to uncover. Sadness and emptiness accompany her, unable to find the peace she longed for. Although her family prospers, Feyre feels that she left her true home behind and senses that something dark looms over Prythian. Chapter 30. Feyre visits the village to distribute part of her fortune among the poor but crosses paths with Isaac Hale, who is now married and happy. When she returns home, Nesta reveals that she never fell under Tamlin's glamour and that she tried to cross the wall to rescue Feyre. Feyre realizes that her sister, despite her harshness, always cared for her. Nesta had protected her when no one else did. This revelation changes the relationship between them and strengthens the bond of trust between the sisters. Chapter 31. Feyre attends a ball held in her honor, but her mind is on Tamlin and the danger looming over Prythian. Upon hearing about the brutal murder of Claire Bedder, she realizes it was her fault for giving Rhys and that name. Fearful that something worse has happened, she decides to return to Prythian to help Tamlin. After a long journey, she crosses the wall only to find the mansion in ruins and Tamlin and everyone else gone. Alone and devastated, Feyre realizes she has arrived too late. Chapter 32. Feyre returns to Tamlin's mansion and finds destruction and blood everywhere. Alice surprises her and reveals that Tamlin and Lucian are alive, but have been taken by Amarantha to Under the Mountain. Alice recounts the story of Amarantha, a cruel general from Hybern who, seeking revenge against humans, cursed Tamlin. The curse could only be broken if a human who hated the immortals killed one and then confessed her love before 7 times 7 years passed. Feyre discovers that she killed Andrus, who was sent by Tamlin to fulfill that prophecy. With time running out, Amarantha took Tamlin and his court. Determined to right her wrong, Feyre insists that Alice take her to Under the Mountain to confront Amarantha and save Tamlin. Chapter 33. Armed with a bow, daggers, and arrows, Feyre follows Alice through the woods and hills toward a cave that serves as an ancient shortcut to Under the Mountain. Alice warns her not to drink the wine, not to make deals, and not to trust anyone, not even Tamlin. Upon reaching the cave, Feyre feels fear as she recalls the warnings about Amarantha's cruelty, but her love for Tamlin drives her to continue. Alice gives her final instructions to stay alert and leaves her with one last warning. Feyre enters the dark and dangerous cave, following a damp and lonely path until she finds a fissure that leads her to an illuminated corridor. She moves stealthily, but before she can go much further, she is captured by the Adder, who takes her before Amarantha. Chapter 34. The Adder drags Feyre into Amarantha's throne room, where she finds Tamlin, cold and indifferent, under the Queen's control. Amarantha, cruel and mocking, displays the tortured corpse of Claire Bedder, the human girl Feyre named by mistake. Feyre demands Tamlin's release, and Amarantha offers her a deal. She must complete 3 deadly trials or solve a riddle to free them. If she fails, she will die. Tamlin remains impassive, but Feyre, driven by her love, accepts the bargain. Amarantha brutally beats her as a warning before locking her in a dark cell. Feyre, battered and wounded, is left alone with her thoughts and growing fear of what lies ahead. Chapter 35. Feyre wakes up gravely injured in a cell. Lucian secretly visits her and partially heals her wounds to avoid raising suspicion. Lucian tells her that Amarantha keeps all the High Lords under her control, including Tamlin. During an audience with Amarantha, Feyre is forced to reveal her name to save Lucian from torture. Amarantha gives her a riddle whose solution would free her immediately, but Feyre cannot find the answer. Rhysand, the High Lord of the Night Court, watches everything with amusement. Feyre is returned to her cell as she prepares to face the deadly trials Amarantha has planned for her. The first trial will come with the full moon, and Feyre fears she may not survive. Chapter 36. Feyre is pushed into an underground arena where a cruel crowd eagerly watches. Amarantha announces that the first trial is about to begin. Feyre is thrown into a muddy labyrinth where she must hunt a deadly creature. A giant worm with a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth chases her through the slippery trenches. Feyre uses her wit to construct a trap with bones found in the worm's lair. She covers her body with mud to hide her scent and lures the creature toward the trap. In a moment of desperation, she succeeds in making the worm fall and impale itself on the bone spikes. Wounded and exhausted, Feyre triumphs, but Amarantha humiliates her before everyone. Tamlin remains motionless, while Feyre silently vows to seek revenge one day. Her victory buys her time, but at a high cost. Chapter 37. After the brutal trial, Feyre is left in her cell, wounded and unattended. The fever and pain from her infected arm worsen, and she fears dying before the second trial. Rhysand visits her and offers to heal her in exchange for a bargain. 1 week per month in his night court for the rest of her life. Feyre, desperate and aware that she might die, initially resists but realizes that losing her arm, or her life, is inevitable without his help. She is forced to accept, and Rhysand seals the bargain with a tattoo that covers her left hand and arm, including an eye that seems to always watch her. Although she feels betrayed by her own decision, Feyre knows she did what was necessary to survive. Rhysand enjoys his triumph, making it clear that their deal carries implications far deeper than she can imagine. Chapter 38. Feyre is forced to perform humiliating tasks in Amarantha's court, such as cleaning floors that are impossible to make spotless. Lucien's mother secretly repays a debt by helping Feyre complete one of these impossible tasks. Later, Feyre is taken to Rhysand's chamber, where he finds her scrubbing ashes and lentils. Rhys, mocking yet intrigued, spares her from further torment by ordering that she not be assigned useless tasks or touched. However, Feyre realizes that Rhysand is only playing his own games and that his help comes at a hidden price. That night, Rhysand begins to show his darker side, revealing power and control that make Feyre tremble. Though he claims his actions protect her, Feyre feels her freedom slipping away bit by bit. Chapter 39. Rhysand turns Feyre into his personal plaything. Every night, he dresses her provocatively and takes her to Amarantha's celebrations, where he drugs her with wine and forces her to dance for him. Feyre becomes Rhysand's whore, subjected to his will and humiliated in front of Tamlin and Lucien. Though her mind is clouded by the wine, she feels the shame and pain of being used as an object. The nights become an endless nightmare, but Feyre clings to the hope of winning the trials to free Tamlin. Rhysand continues playing his games, but Feyre begins to notice cracks in his mask of cruelty, wondering what his true intentions are. Chapter 40. Feyre faces her second trial before Amarantha, who places her in a cavern divided by a metal gate. On one side is Lucien, chained and vulnerable, while a red-hot iron grate slowly descends to kill them. Feyre must choose between 3 levers to stop the grate, but the inscription on the wall is written in a language she cannot read. Desperation consumes her as the heat of the metal approaches. At the last moment, her tattoo with Rhysand's eye guides her to the correct lever. She pulls the third one, stopping the grate and saving both Lucien and herself. Though she survives, the humiliation and fear tear her apart. Rhysand mentally guides her to show no weakness before Amarantha, but when she returns to her cell, Feyre breaks down and cries, feeling broken and convinced that she will never be able to win. Chapter 41. Dark days follow the second trial. Feyre becomes despondent, finding solace only in Rhysand's wine, as she fears the third trial will be her end. During a walk, her shadow servant companions hide her when the Ator and another creature discuss sinister plans. Feyre overhears that the King of Hybern is losing patience with Amarantha for not supporting him. It is mentioned that the king has enough power to strip her of her spells if she betrays him. The servants assure her that Rhysand will soon know what is happening. Trapped under the mountain, Feyre has no way to warn anyone, and her third trial approaches inexorably. Chapter 42. On the last night before the final trial, Feyre attends another party where Rhysand delays calling her. Tamlin discreetly approaches her, and when their hands touch, an intense fire ignites within her. Tamlin takes her to a room, and they give in to their passion, but Rhysand interrupts them before they can go any further. Rhysand threatens Tamlin with exposing him to Amarantha and forces Feyre to return to the party, ruining their moment. Later, Rhys kisses Feyre brutally to protect her when Amarantha and her court discover them. Although humiliation and pain consume her, Feyre realizes that Rhys is keeping her alive and protecting Tamlin from greater torture. Chapter 43. Feyre faces her final trial. She must kill 3 innocents to free Tamlin and Prythian. Filled with horror, she drives the ash dagger into 2 immortals, feeling her soul shatter with each death. When she reaches the 3rd, she discovers that it is Tamlin. Desperate, she recalls veiled hints that Tamlin had left her. Realizing that his heart is made of stone and that the dagger cannot kill him, Feyre bets everything on that truth. With courage, she plunges the dagger into his chest, trusting that Amarantha's magic cannot kill him in that way. The crowd holds its breath as Feyre makes the sacrifice that could save them all. Chapter 44. Feyre drives the dagger into Tamlin's chest, but the blow meets only stone. Amarantha's curse had made his heart impenetrable. Although Feyre had won, Amarantha refuses to release Tamlin and brutally tortures her. Feyre feels her bones breaking and suffers as Amarantha demands that she deny her love for Tamlin. Rhys tries to intervene but is thrown aside by Amarantha's magic. As Feyre is torn apart by pain, her memories and love for Tamlin keep her strong. On the brink of death, she remembers the riddle and utters the answer: love. Amarantha's magic halts upon hearing those words, but Feyre is already nearly destroyed. Chapter 45. Feyre, outside her body, watches as Tamlin transforms into a beast and attacks Amarantha. He drags her across the hall and brutally kills her, tearing out her throat. The High Fae and Immortals rebel, destroying Amarantha's followers. As Tamlin holds Feyre's broken body, the High Lords of Prythian, one by one, grant her a spark of their power to bring her back to life. Rhys, when giving his spark, feels an unexpected impact. Tamlin, with a shattered heart, kisses Feyre, and golden magic flows into her, desperately trying to bring her back. Chapter 46. Feyre returns to life, now transformed into a High Fae, but her human heart remains tormented by the lives she took. Tamlin helps her recover and takes her home. Although freedom has been restored and Amarantha is dead, Feyre feels empty. Rhys finds her on a balcony and tells her that he stayed by her side so she wouldn't die alone. As he leaves, something within Feyre causes Rhys to stumble and disappear, visibly confused. Tamlin and Feyre return to the spring court, where children play freely and peace seems to return. However, Feyre feels that something inside her is broken, and she knows that facing that pain will be her true battle. Upon arriving home, she allows herself a moment of peace before confronting the weight of her actions. And that's the end of A Court of Thorns and Roses. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Prythian. If you like this summary, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your fellow book lovers. Now tell me in the comments, what did you think about Feyre and Tamlin's story? And are you ready for the next chapter, A Court of Mist and Fury?